Mr. Jocks will be here, I believe, if not this year. Nancy, would you please do a roll call?
Colette.
Here.
Guy.
Here.
Jenema.
Here.
LaPointe is excused. Scott.
Here.
White.
Here.
Zallinger.
Here. Thank you. I'd like to open with limited public comment. Anybody from the audience? Hearing none, I'll close it at 7:01. Next is approval of agenda, and I have two items of information I want to add. One is the DPW Traverse City sewer membrane replacement. I just want to give a status of what's going on as you read it in the paper and kind of have an idea what it's going to cost us. So it'll be new business 3. And the other is just a status of where we are. It's been brought up about the servers or our computers. It's a combination of things, just a status, something on that. So that'll be number 4. Does anybody else have anything?
Wouldn't the server issue be old business, just an update on it?
Well, we haven't talked about it recently. We can do it either way we want to do it.
I think it's something that we've already done with and approved, so it should be old business, just an update on where we're at.
I don't care which way.
Yeah.
That'd be fine. No problem at all. Anything else on the board?
Did you change that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I did.
It's now under old business?
for that one.
Old business one.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, anything else? Otherwise, I need a motion to approve the agenda. Anybody from the audience? I should ask that. If not, motion to approve the agenda.
Well, I've got some questions about emails in regards to our, not accountant, but our assistant, that I'd like to discuss somewhere. I don't know where it would be best discussed, but
Would that be old business? Because it looks like it was in the minutes last month. I think
That'd
you
probably
guys
be
talked
good.
about it.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you. Otherwise, I need a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda with adding the sewer update under new business, and then under old business, servers and computers, and then to discuss account/bookkeeper.
Support. Scott. Thank you, Paul. Okay, inquiry to any conflict of interest tonight? Anybody? Hearing none, we'll proceed. Consent calendar. Amy, could I get you to read that tonight, please?
The purpose is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together for one board motion. Roll call vote without discussion. A request to remove any item from discussion later in the agenda from any member of the board, staff, or public shall be granted. Number 1, receive and file A, Treasurer's Report 12/31/13, B, Clerk's Report 12/31/13, C, draft unapproved minutes. Meeting minutes, A, Planning Commission 1/13/14, B, ZBA meeting 01/09/14, D, Parks and Rec Maintenance Report, E, the Metro Insider, F, Planning, Zoning, Administrative Activity Report, G, North Flight 2014. 2, action, consider approval, Township Board meeting minutes 1/7/14A, and then B, accounts payable prepaid of $3,982.72, and current to be approved of $25,692.50. Recommended approval by Kathy Guy, clerk.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any items to be removed from the consent calendar?
Supervisor Jay, I would like to have Parks and Rec.
And I would like to have, under 2, item B, the accounts, the current amount to be approved. I'd like to put that under item 2.
Anybody else?
So the accounts payable are fine, it's just the current to be approved that you need? to address?
Yes, specifically.
Okay. I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
You didn't ask the audience.
Oh, I should have. Anybody in the audience have? Thank you, Jeff. I made it just in time to
Any approval of the agenda? You didn't vote on it.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Amy approved it.
No, we
didn't
approved
vote.
it, but
Oh,
we didn't vote on it.
good point. Man, let's do this and we'll come back to that just in case.
We had a motion.
Yeah, we had a motion second and we never asked.
Yeah, but not a roll call.
Sorry, I missed it.
Let's go ahead and approve the consent calendar with the items removed. Do I have a motion for that?
Going short.
I'll make that motion to approve the consent calendar, removing D, Parks and Rec maintenance, and to be current, to be approved, to be removed.
Second.
Second.
Okay, let's just step back up to approval of agenda and take that vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe that's why you got that jacket. I appreciate that. No problem. Okay, let's go ahead with the items removed from consent calendar then and
Wait,
go.
was your vote, you still have to vote on a consent calendar?
Right, that's what we're doing now.
It was on the
Yeah.
approval of the agenda.
Oh,
We
okay.
never voted on it.
Now we need a motion to approve a consent calendar, and that needs to be a roll call, please. Since the prepaid bills are on there.
And we have, sorry. Dye,
Yes.
Genema,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Colette. Yes. Motion carries.
Commissioner. Okay, the first item we took off of the consent calendar, Amy, is Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I just had a question whether, I know that it says that on the TARP trail that we've stopped plowing. Was TARP contacted and told, and then they were
I've talked to
told?
TART, they got approval to borrow the city's blowers because we can't get through anymore.
Right,
And they should do that in the next few days.
okay, I just wanted to make sure they were, it was
Yes.
followed through.
Yep,
It didn't
sure was.
say it was just sent through that one.
Anything else? No,
That's
no,
it.
we
Nope.
did. Important that we, I mean,
That's why I just
because
wanted
they'll
to
get
make
the
sure.
complaints, and if we don't, and then they'll wonder what happened.
Right, well, no, and it just didn't say that they
No.
were, so that's why I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay, let's make a motion to accept that item, please.
I'll make that motion that we accept the Parks and Rec that was submitted by Con Hinkle.
Have a second.
Second.
White? No money there, so let's, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next item is to be current, approved. Kathy?
Yes, I have an invoice or bill from Brick House Interactive that got overlooked. There was two bills that were submitted. Anyways, I'd like to ask the board's approval to add $1,352.50, bringing the total of the amount of invoices to be paid of $27,024.
And this is the website.
Yeah, this is the final half of the
Final.
contract.
And on the current to be approved when we do it is the annual fees you have.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's already on the,
that's in that.
that's in that.
website?
No, yes,
Yeah.
so we know.
I know I called on the website because none of the links were working. Has
Yeah.
anyone checked since then, and are they now
They
working?
were working as of 9 last night.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Many of the
because I
links.
tried to get onto them and
There is still a couple embedded in some places that I've had to edit out that went to those old Acme shore sites and stuff because we didn't have those documents. I'm getting those documents sent to me, so we won't have to link to them, we can get right on them.
okay.
But we-
So it's functioning the way it was designed to now.
Well, it's got some edits.
Still tweaking.
We're always gonna tweak as we turn things up and change things. And, we've had some input, and I went through one of the whole letters today and got 90% of those done. And we're just gonna get little things here and there. We'll mature with this site. That's one of the reasons tonight, so you know, when we put the agenda out, there was nothing linked to it, because the way we used to link and the new way is gonna be different. The new way, you will be able to go to the calendar, click on the calendar, there will be a file, and the first thing in the file will be the agenda. And everything in order of the agenda that should have been linked like we did before will be PDF right down the line. So that's the way the planning commission does it. So you see, you'll be able to get all the data. You just have to go down to it.
So there won't be the hot links like
Right,
we had, okay?
right.
So,
It's not a real thing.
typically, you don't final payment of a contract until it's working properly. Are you comfortable that
Yes.
it's working as prescribed?
As we've asked for, yeah. Most of the errors, Paul, other than this one last night, were things we just didn't edit out. We didn't, in some of them were things we were wrong on our website, were wrong in the old website. Nobody had ever really looked at the details of the old website. You know, the report stuff is wrong to start with. What's it, garbage in, garbage out, kind of little thing. So, yeah, I'm very happy, and they're very willing to cooperate and, with help, yes. Okay, Kathy has the update. Do I have a motion to approve that? Anything else on that, Kathy?
Nope, that was the only thing.
Okay. Need a motion to approve accounts payable current of $27,024 and no cents. Do I have a motion?
Do we need to change any of your reports, Connie, due to this?
No, because this would be on her prepaid.
Next, okay.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to approve the brick house final payment,
No, it's the whole
which
current.
changes the current invoices to $27,024 even.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, since we're talking about dollars, roll call please, Nancy.
Gentlemen,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Colette,
Yes.
Dye,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. We have no special presentations tonight. Not bad, no one. We need a little better than normal, right? Sheriff's report, Ken is here tonight, he's been sick, I think our last meeting, so welcome back to us.
Now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening. For the month of January, we had 206 calls for service. So there were 16 citations issued, 6 criminal arrests were made. One thing of note is the traffic crashes are still up. There were 31 of those. Four of those were injury accidents. So, no, I took a head on out there. And 72 was pretty ugly. So, but, well, yeah.
You survived that bad weather.
Yeah, just drive slow and extra room.
Any questions?
Does your criminal arrests include the warrants you guys get into Acme Township as well?
I don't know that. Yeah.
What was the question?
Ask records, because I don't think that is. I think I saw more than that myself come through.
Yeah,
I
don't
might be
know.
wrong, but
I don't know if that's generated when we pull
yeah.
a arrest sheet, if it puts the location.
Warrant arrests. They're at the
Could be from any place.
court issues a warrant.
Okay,
The crime may have happened in
who knows where?
Kmart in Traverse City, but the arrest took place in Acme. If it shows up as an Acme arrest or as a Traverse City
Good to
arrest.
know.
I don't know that either. I would assume it would note where they were arrested, but I can double check that. I'll be at the Polar Plunge Saturday. I'm not jumping.
Oh, you're not?
One of
Well,
my
jail.
coworkers is one of the top fundraisers for the last 3 or 4 years in a row, and he's up hopefully near the top again this year.
Did they get you to jump?
Not me, no. I did support and go and help him with a spaghetti dinner. Help clean up after the folks, and he's raised over 3,000 the last 2 years himself.
That's great.
Polar Plunge.
That's great.
Yeah, we'll be up there with the dive team and all that, so.
Any other questions from anybody from Ken, anybody from the public? Okay, thank you. Larry Inman is sick, right Nancy? And so we don't have a report from Larry. However, in your package is the county administrator's report. If I give you more detail, I can get out of that. don't know anything to do there. County Road Commissioner in the last meeting asked to put on the agenda, and I notice he's not here tonight. So, obviously we haven't pushed for it, but we put it on the agenda anyway, so it's okay. Correspondence, I have none. Public hearing, we have none. We're ready for the first item in new business. This one should be fairly simple. In our last board meeting, we approved the Community Recreation and Natural Resources, a 5-year master plan for the Parks and Rec. After we did it, which is fine, then we found that the state now has a requirement it should be by resolution, not just by motion. And they had their own form. So that's why I'm putting this on here tonight, is their form they wanted filled out. We have to have it to them to apply for grants in this form, so we did. And so I just need a motion to approve, again, what we did before. If we miss one of these, I don't think it's right, we just fill it in and like the vote, we just do a resolution in the meeting appropriately, and then we have a document. So it'd be 2014-08. Otherwise, I look for a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution R 2014-08, Community Recreation and Natural Resource Conservation Plan. Resolution of a meeting of the Board of Trustees of Acme Township, Grand Traverse County, Michigan, held on February 4th of February 2014 at 7 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, is there any other questions? Just want to make sure. If not, I don't think we need, there's not money being spent, so just a, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Thank you. That's that one.
Yeah, it's unanimous, so. I was gonna say with the fact that they asked for yeas, nays, and absent, it's unanimous, other than one absent, so
Yeah,
pretty obvious.
not a,
Don't necessarily need to clarify it.
the next item, and we actually have a presenter for the next item. A little bit of a presenter. An honored guest, distribution of Acme Township Master Plan, so honored guest.
I believe in your packet you had a letter from me that actually John I wrote for me. He's great. And a copy of the master plan. We're to the point now, we've done the community survey, which I know that you guys have heard about. We worked with the planner to compile that information and come up with this draft master plan. Everybody on the planning commission has read it. We believe it's to the point, there's some minor, more like clerical editing things that need to be done with it, but we're to the point where it can be passed on for the 63-day review period. So we are asking the board to send it out for review with other government entities, neighboring townships, the county planning, for the 63-day review period. And then once that period is over, it'll come back to the planning commission for a public hearing. So this is the next step in the process, and if you have any questions, I can do my best to answer them. Okay?
Thanks, that was easy.
We have asked, so everybody knows, I've asked John I to get me a copy of this, that I can put even a draft copy of this plan on the website, as a draft copy.
Correct. The only thing I'll say is that the file is really, really big.
Yes?
So I think that he has one that might be without images or smaller or
He
something.
has two different ones he provides, and then ones are providing to our website. It is about a 16 meg file.
It's a huge, yeah.
It's a
So
pretty
that's the
good
only
size
thing
file.
I would say with posting online,
Yeah.
but for the review period, yeah.
So, okay. So I think we ought to have a motion to approve doing that.
I'll make that motion to approve sending it out.
Support?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you, Carly, for coming and helping present that. The next item is the membrane replacement. There's been a lot of talk about in the paper, and it's been ongoing, so I thought I wanted to bring everybody up to date on what's going on in it. We have the septic plant that's part of our handling septic systems, but we also have an ownership percentage, and it's only on paper, it's not a real ownership, but it's kind of a contractual ownership, I guess is what I call it, in the master sewer agreement with the city. And that ownership is a joint of Acme, East Bay, Garfield, and Peninsula and Elmwood Townships, that we have a capacity lease kind of arrangement. That arrangement was originally 40, it went to 48, and then when it went to 50. The 2% that we had at 50 is gone. The contract's out, we did not renew it, we were not using the capacity. The 8%, probably this September, we will not renew that capacity because we haven't bumped up against that. And we're looking at a pooling mechanism to, all townships can help share in the spare versus I gotta keep my own spare and you gotta keep your own. Doesn't make a lot of sense. The actual city plant runs for every user only 50% of its capacity. So there's plenty of capacity in that plant. And technology changes. They tell us, at least the experts on this, that we probably will get some technology changes that will improve that capacity today another 15%, just by technology. So that's a great thing versus capital investment. But we do have some maintenance items in the plant. One is the membranes. Membranes are technology they run stuff through to clean it up and make the sewer system work properly. And the membranes that we have have about a 10 to 11 year life. They're getting close. And this replacement is to replace this year in September one membrane of the plant with a new type. And it's a little different mounting and all that. It's about 845,000, I think, overall. Our percent of this is 7.44%, and that's based on the flow, not ownership. That's based on flow to the plant. So of the 48% townships own, of that 48, we have 7.44% of it. This first replacement is going to cost us about $30,690. And we presently have in our sewer fund, I looked, I think on the report tonight and earlier, around 871,000 and change, plus or minus something. So that, I think we're all right on this. It is a lot of money. We're not used to spending that kind of money for maintenance for stuff. If they replace the other units over time, our total cost will be over $200,000 as a township that we have to put into this membrane replacement. We've challenged that it should be a capital item. The auditors and people have come back, both Dean Bach from the county and the city, and we've asked even our council, Scott Howard, to look at this. We think it's more like a capital item, not a maintenance item. Everybody else says it's a maintenance item. And here's their philosophy of that. So they say this is like, when you buy a new car, you buy the whole car. But if the engine goes bad, you don't capitalize a new engine, you replace it. So the membrane's like an engine of the plant. We're not replacing the whole plant, it's just this component. And that's how the Dean and others have analyzed this. It's been challenged a couple of times, and it looks like that's every time it comes back. So that's, in some ways, is not a benefit to us, because if it was a capital item, our percentage would be less, because we don't figure it on flow, we figure it on ownership. So that's the catch to it. There's also concern about who buys the equipment and when you pay tax on it or not, and there's been a ruling by the state that yes, even though we buy the equipment, if a contractor puts the equipment in, it's capitalized. That's fine, that's a rule, yeah. So the first unit, once it's installed, will help us determine how soon we need to do the other membranes. Like I say, the overall amount is about $200,000. I looked at, just for information, Meyer's benefit cost, once they go in service and turn up the sewer, about $500,000 in benefits. Now remember, benefits only go for capital improvements, they don't go for maintenance. And that's only capital improvements for bonding of our capital improvements in our township. So that has no effect on Charter City's plant, that's not in our township. But the quarterly fees that people pay and the amount of benefits they have, their quarterly fees could be ranging in the area of around $12,060 a quarter. That does help us on maintenance of our system and maintenance stuff, and some of that fee can go against some of these efforts. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of it. The city, the DPW is gonna vote on this. No, there's only 15 plants in the country that use this technology. So there's not a lot of statistical data, you know, to go look at and say, I've seen 50 plants and here's what I see. So it's costly, but it's a maintenance item, and we do share it with the other townships.
And we got the money there, it's just.
It's not money I'd like to spend this way, but we do have it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and the alternative is, and the paper's made it a little worse than it sounds, but the alternative is if you have a problem, you got people that, you got a mess, and we got water to protect and people's services to provide, so.
And we did, I mean, we are building a little bit in there, like you said, about 140 extra, which does cover these kinds of things, so, you know, that's, I think our fees are good, I think we're right at that, I would consider that real close to a break even.
I get a book from Gosling Schuback, they've done this for years, fees that everybody gets in kind of northern Michigan, water and sewer fees, benefits and charges. And we're not the lowest and we're not the highest. But I think we're all right. One good thing about the village going into the Grand Traverse Town Center is we don't have any cost for the infrastructure that's going in. We end up with that ownership, but we don't pay a dime for pipe in ground. That's all being provided. And if there's growth, then they also have to pay some cost of the update to the sewer stations. And we're studying that. We'll have our first report, I hope, at the end of March, to give us some idea where we're at. And one of the things we want to understand is our rate structure. Is it too high or too low? In the past, I thought it was too low from everything I saw. I think when Paul, was it moved up twice, do you remember?
I believe twice that we did it.
And we don't want to, but you have to understand. It's something you have to provide, manage, and maintain. So we're looking at that. Okay?
But when you look at it, it was twice in the last 8 years, and prior to that, it had been quite a few years too, so.
Had nothing.
Right.
And that's one of the problems the city has. If you see, read the paper, the city's not updated, it's not changed their rates for a while. All at once they're realizing, we better do something. We're pretty right.
On this 140,000 that we're gonna have left over at the end, how much do we bank on each year? Like, how much does it grow? Do you know that?
That's about what we did.
Each year we'll gain about 140 if we don't have to put out any?
As long as we've had.
Okay.
Nobody changes anything.
No, I understand. Because
But
nobody
if you-
changes anything and there's no improvements, it's about 140.
But
so
if
then
you
we'll
have more
leave.
benefits sold, Amy, and you have more services in,
Right. and then it's-
unfortunately, there's a
But-
change to both sides of the
Yeah, yeah.
equation.
The connection from where it ends here to where we were gonna connect to up at Lockheed
Yeah.
was like $1 million or a $2 million project. So when you have to make those connections,
They're not cheap.
that's the output you
Yeah.
gotta come
Or
up
pumps gotta be changed.
Oh,
The
yeah.
pump behind the down outlet, as an example. We're probably gonna have to change those pumps.
with. No.
Whatever the driver is, we'll look at. But
Right,
if
okay.
you had to,
That's
the
kind of-
piping's good, but the
that's
pumps
all
can
change.
change. That's another 5, 6, 8,000,
Right,
whatever
right.
it is. So it's not like you go buy a sump pump at $140 your basement. It's an industrial grade
Yeah, right.
issue.
Let's hope.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's that one. Just want to keep everybody informed of that because it's, if I say you'll see it in the paper and you might say, what about us? The next item is the old business server. I want to talk a little bit about this in two ways. One is our servers have been around for quite a while. I don't know the exact date on them, and they are getting old. And in about another year, the actual server itself and software will even be non-supported. Yes, thank you, yes, Connie. By the way, the same thing is with our computers. The difference in our computers themselves is they will be non-supported as soon as XP is non-supported, and there's some discussion of that's 2, 3, 4 months. Because that's what Linda said, at a certain point in time, they always use the software, right? They cut it off. We did recently have a problem in the server. We did not lose any data. Our backups, one backup worked, but the other didn't. It wasn't, we had both. We never were duplex, we were simplex was in trouble. That's been fixed, and it's running better right now than it ever has. I also, so you know, I get an email every day, does the backup work or not work? Every day, both the off-site and the on-site. So I go to the little portable and the big one I know whether they are or not, and if they don't, first thing I do is call the IT guy and say, look at this, we gotta look at it. So we haven't, I don't think we've been hampered, but I sure don't want to be ever in a position of losing data. Nobody should lose data. We rely upon our data and everything we do too much. I talked to Chris, who's our IT guy. There's a couple different ways we can go. I think we probably need to go out for bids on this. One way is we buy a little, I wouldn't call it a better server, but a faster server. That's important, I think, because we've had some speedy issues, right? And we have hot standbys and things in it, and ability to go to the cloud to store data. Instead of trying to, plug a box in now, unplug a box, move it here, move it there, we ought to have a backup. I'm going to call it greater than us, and our capability to do that. And then there's no question, no matter who's on vacation, who's here, who's not. I was checking when I was out of town for 4 days and calling and talking because we got to keep these things running. Jobs can't be done without. On the other side is the computers. And one of the approaches I think we could do is replace the server, since we have some money, bid that out, but also replace some of the computers now and some of the computers that are running better in the next year's budget.
Can you fix windows like that?
Yeah, I think we can do that on the server.
If you get some old and some new?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been
just-
told we can.
I've had experience with different Windows programs. I mean, this computer has this Windows, this one has this Windows, and like, if I do something on the new one and send it to the old, it'll say I'm converting it to this one and vice versa.
Well, then we've
But-
got our software too, that, like the tax software, that would be, some of them would be using older Windows and newer
Well-
Windows, so it's.
Well, that's where you'd have to
We
determine.
might have to determine which ones
Which
have to
one
have
needs-
compatibility. One thing I know is that some of the state databases and election I know most of, we can't go any higher than Windows 7. And we can still get Windows 7.
That's right, because the other one is all that touchy stuff, you
Right,
know, so
right.
it's-
Yeah, I'm with you on that for now, at least.
For
But,
now, yeah.
So I think what we need to do is put an RFP together, go out to some other companies. I think Chris has done us a good job, but I'm concerned with single sourcing. If Chris was bumped off tomorrow or out of town with his kids, and what do we do? I don't like to go find somebody 8 hours later, but have somebody on call. I just don't think it served us well up to now, but we need somebody that is, we need a company that can provide the kind of service we'd like to have. Peninsula Township lost their servers last year, lost their stuff, and had no backup. Literally none, had to reproduce everything. Very expensive to you as a taxpayer and me as, us as a worker bees trying to do that. There's some things that are very hard to find. I don't know how you do it. I mean, we rely upon that. The other thing is we have stuff on multiple servers back there, Dan. By putting a big enough server in, we can put the DocuShare stuff on our server, not as a separate server. Our server today has someplace near 45 to 49, depending on which day it is, gig of spare storage on the server. Your drive, my drive, Kathy's drive, all is the same storage capacity. If it says 48, and you look at yours, that's for mine, yours, and Kathy's. That's not just yours. Yeah, that's a little different.
The total for all three, right?
Well, I'm sorry, not on yours, mine, and Kathy. Maybe it's on the township board, the general, the
Okay,
common
yes,
drives.
Right, okay, right.
Ours are separate, and so we've done some things to take stuff off of those common ones and put them elsewhere. Like we found we had all the TV programs for the sewers, 3 different places, plus I have CDs on. I'm not sure why I need them left on the server for now. They're available. I have them stored in 2 places plus a CD. So we did some maneuvering around to make things, protect things and give us we were down, our capacity was down. And I've seen it go down and back up, which says either somebody's taking documents off, maybe it's some things are cleaning up on routines and how you do disk cleans and stuff like that. Maybe that's happening. So that's where we're at. I think, Paul, you had a question earlier about this, so it went on the old business. You have
Didn't we already approve
we have
replacing some
in the budget money for replacement of computers and some of this work. I think it's about 8,000, I'd have to look
Okay.
exactly.
And you're talking, it's gonna be quite a bit more,
Well,
than I'm sure with what you're talking.
A rough estimate just for the new server is almost 4,800.
Yeah,
Now, people give me different prices, and I've looked at this, and that's why we need, well, they'll say I can get one for $1,000. Well, they don't tell you how much the software is,
Yeah.
the drive is, the peripheral, you know how it
Yeah.
is. So when you start adding up the pieces, all at once this 1,000 goes up, but they only tell you the 1,000, it sounds good. So that's why we need to look at more than one company. I've got a couple firms I've been giving some recommendation to. One was called IT Right, one was, I have it Lair, L-A-R, but it's L-A-R-R, O-R. And there's a couple others in the area that are deemed reputable by people. There's some that aren't. I mean, I don't like the one we have from Metro, because they never could make our redundant server system work. Now, it doesn't mean they're bad people, maybe they've got a tough technology to do it. I don't know enough about these two, but others have looked at them, we've got some, so I think we just need to look at more than one. And if we can do it with the server and what I'm gonna call the critical computers, one of them I would say is critical is either one of yours. Okay, because they go hand in hand on what you do. I don't think mine is that critical, or Nikki's, even though I think they're all about the same vintage. But I think if we can do that, we can do that. The other thing we can do, if that's what the board wants, is we just say, let's do the whole enchilada, which I think is harder in one sense, and that's because everybody's on a learning curve. It takes a time. If you haven't used Windows 7, for some people that would be easy, and other people would be a little harder. Just get used to the commands.
I also wonder though if you'll get a better price buying in volume.
You might, that's why we have to see. We might want to do it in options.
Yeah.
If I buy all, would that give me a better?
or even if you bought all but said hook half up now and come back in 6 months and do the other half.
Yeah,
They may do that as well.
yeah.
I
Old
mean, if you-
computers not
You
worth
put it
it.
out there, that's what you're doing eventually, maybe you'll still get that close.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned with mixing, because you do run into little issues that, you know, just
You
like
do a
Paul said.
document, I don't have it, and vice
And I
versa.
send it to you, you can't open it, or, you know, we do share,
You convert it and something gets converted wrong.
yeah. But we do share the tax software, and we do share the fund balance software. So we'd have to have, I would think that the software needs to be upgraded along with the new Windows system, so then if you're mixing them, do we have?
Oh, if you get a new computer, you have to have Windows 7.
Well, I mean, but BSNA might have an upgrade that we have to run because we have XP on that, and so we'd have to
I
get
got you.
that. So then if somebody's running it with an XP.
So we need to understand is there a
Yeah.
capability or compatibility issue?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to look at all those key softwares and go back and say, is
Sometimes
this one,
it's
is
just,
this one, is this one, what are they?
sometimes it's just cleaner to do it all at once. And I have a feeling we all have been running Windows 7 anyway at home. I don't know if we,
I am. I'm not like it.
oh,
That's a personal issue. I mean, it just is, you have to get used to it. It's like when you went from something to XP, it was okay.
yeah,
Some of them, like we talked about Windows 8, I've looked at Windows 8 and I don't like it.
yeah, I know,
And it has some bugs.
yeah,
Here.
yeah.
So anyway.
But you know, it's kind of.
If we need to do both, then we'll, if we get to that point, I think the thing we do is come back to the board if we don't have enough money and say, here's what the difference in cost is. I think we have it in our balance, the way I look at the numbers, and appropriate accordingly to do that.
But if we're gonna go out for bids, we need to let everybody know what we're bidding, so then everybody's bidding the
Right.
same thing.
That's why we have to write it as a
Okay,
document.
so, yeah,
It's
so,
not I'd like one of these, maybe one of these.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, if we're gonna,
Yeah,
Or
this
bid
is
it
what
out
we're
in
looking
different-
for, tell us how you can best fit that need.
What they can do.
And you can put in there, we will do all of them eventually, but we would really like to do half now and half in a few months when we had a chance to get used to it, or whatever.
Yeah,
I know that they used to, and years ago over at that office building across from the corner of 72 and 22 over here in East Elmwood had that, they have computer classes in that building. And I went to a few of them, they're like a day long or a half a day long classes. I mean, I went there years ago when, I don't even know what program it was, but I went to a day class and I was comfortable with that program after that day. Somebody might want to look into if they still do that there, and if they have.
Well, the college has classes too.
They do, but I know they were more half a day,
Easy.
user friendly.
Yeah.
Here's a computer, do it
Yeah.
in and out the door.
Well,
Whereas
maybe
at
we
college, they wanna keep you there for
Yeah,
Well,
more
that might
than a
be something
day.
else we ask in a bid too
Yeah.
about training.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Okay, that's where we're at, I just want everybody to know.
Well, I would, I guess, recommend or suggest that we get something together and get it out as soon as possible, because it sounds like it definitely needs to be addressed sooner than later.
Yeah, we have one computer in
And
right
I-
now with getting a new hard drive in it, because
And I thought that we had approved that in the past to be done, so.
we budgeted for it in this case, but we never said go ahead and start on it.
Why not?
I know we've had some discussions, Connie has a laptop, doesn't work out for us, she'll have to, so we have things like that. We have the spare equipment we use for projection, which we might have to change out also, things like that.
Yeah. We budgeted for it with I think, at least I thought we were intending to do it soon.
Well, and the budget was more for the computers and not the server, and now we're faced with the server issue. And I think it's really probably the right thing to do a little of both, or at least do all of it, one or the other, because
Yeah.
I don't want to take the chance of something else happening on the server, even if it's a year from now, and then having to go back to it again. And because we don't have cloud attachment, this is a good time to make that leap into technology. Some people have been fearing, I don't think we should have anything to fear, because 90% of our data is public knowledge. So somebody really got what they get, public knowledge.
The only thing would be to lock it up so that no one could change.
Well, you always keep security on stuff.
Keep it so that it
Yeah.
couldn't be altered by anyone unless they had all the right code.
Right.
And most of them are. I
Right.
mean, yours is locked, Dawn's is locked, I don't know about
But if you
yours.
send
What
stuff
do
to
you
the,
mean, the
It's
door?
password.
send it to the
Oh,
cloud.
Password protected,
as
you get in to
mentioned.
do the edits. You
All of
can't
our
go in-
computers are.
Yeah, I'm like, you can't get on.
You can't get
But
any.
even, but once you're on the computer, even once you get on the computer, your software program is then locked.
Some are, yeah.
You can't edit, you can't,
Right.
without the right code.
Okay,
So where are we on that? I'm confused. So
Yeah.
are we going out to bids? Are we gonna,
we're
what are we
first gonna
doing
write an RFP, I'll probably get some help on that, and get an RFP written.
for the March meeting? So then it goes out
Well,
in
I hope I
March.
can
so
do it
that-
by March, I'm not promising I'll have it done by March, with
Okay.
everything else on the table right now.
Okay,
But
Right.
that
So
would be
we're
my
looking
goal, to
at-
try to attempt to get it done by March.
okay, so then we're looking at
Is-
April realistically.
Is there someone in the office that can help you with that, so that it can be done? Sounds like it's something that needs
I was.
somewhat immediate attention. I mean, and if,
I don't think it's that bad, that it needs like immediate attention, but I think we don't wanna let it go.
but it's 60 days letting it go, which it sounds like we're doing already, before we even put the RFP out.
Because you always think you have time till it crashes.
God, you can never answer all of the technology, you know that, I can't. Like your car, you know it'll start today and not tomorrow, that's true of anything that's got age on it, you know that. I wish my less the same.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well,
But,
I would volunteer to get things moving if we need to do it sooner.
I would like to see something next meeting, if at all possible, an RFP,
Yeah,
if at all possible.
that way we can make the decision, and, because then.
I mean, we can always tweak the RFP at the meeting too,
Yeah,
but if we have something to present so that we can put it out hopefully shortly after our next meeting, then we're looking at the following one, maybe being able,
before you get them back to.
maybe being able to make a decision by our
we're
following
talking
one.
90 days before they even
Right.
walk in the
So
door,
rather than
so-
90, we're talking down to 60 to hopefully have,
Somewhere in the next-
I mean, I know it may not be possible, but I'd like to see if you would try to put it together.
Okay. Okay.
So Connie, are you working on that? Is that what we
I
are
heard
hearing?
we're off it.
I would
I'm just-
suggest
just
Connie
trying-
work with Jay to, you
Make
know,
sure we're all on
we
the
get
same page.
as much as we can together for an RFP for our
Yeah.
next meeting.
Okay.
Got an election coming up, so.
You'll be.
Yeah, I don't think you want to.
Yeah.
No, that-
You'll be a little busy.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all on that one. The last item we have tonight is old business, and something about emails, Paul.
Yes. I thought I kind of made it very clear with my motion, that Gordy even had seconded, that we would table the issue with our accountant, I guess. I don't know what his official title is, but with the understanding that everyone would be working together and issues would get resolved, and I led to believe that that's not occurring necessarily the way I thought it would be. I'm not in the office, I don't know all the details, but I know in the past there was an issue with what appears that Dennis gave Connie the wrong numbers. Connie got sick, went out on medical leave, and everyone looked at Connie that she made a big error in her reports. I think maybe Connie's trying to cover herself, so she's using email to communicate with Dennis, and what I read was that Dennis said he wouldn't respond to her emails. I don't know the details, that's kind of what I read into it. If that's the case, then obviously the communication's not happening. I guess is the best way for me to see it. As a board member, and I thought I made it clear, if there's not that communication, then we definitely need someone to replace him.
So I think Dennis has responded, he would take a phone call anytime.
Take a phone call, or
Don't know that's the answer, but he has to.
he talked to Connie if she'd come into the office when he's here, and I have let Connie know the dates and times as to when Dennis comes into the office.
And I think I prefaced the beginning of that with, I think Connie feels she got burnt once by trying to communicate verbally with him. And everyone pointed fingers to her office that she made a big error and it caused a big accounting snafu, and oh my God, Acme Township lost all this money or it's misplaced. And that's not the case. So now she's trying to cover herself with, let's do it on paper so there's no miscommunication. I can say, this is what I got, this is what you gave me, this is what I gave you, and that's not happening.
And the other part of that is a lot of times, I'm working 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I don't think he wants me to call him then. So if I have a question, I'd like to send it by email. He doesn't have to respond right then, but he's also works for other places, so it very much limits his availability for me. If I can't send him the emails and I have to contact him by phone, then he's working at East Bay or some other place. Why can't I not send him an email? I don't understand that one, except the only thing that goes through my mind is you don't want to do it by email because, if you can't say it in an email, don't say it. He's basically not available to me. That's really what it comes down to.
It's hard for us to speak for Dennis
Yeah,
too.
I know that.
Kenny, is it possible
Because
though
there is another side.
that you can be in the office to meet with him here, so it's a face-to-face and you don't have to do it that way?
Well, and now you're doing just the opposite. I feel Dennis is an employee of the township. Connie's an elected official. Connie can set her hours when she's gonna do the elected official work. Dennis needs to work with her, and her way is, we aren't in the office at the same time, so let's use email. And he's not willing to do that. So to me, he's saying, I'm not willing to work with you, you'll come in when I'm here, dictating her schedule to her. And I don't think he has the right to do that. Any more than she would have the right to call him up at 9 o'clock at night, say, hey, I'm at home working on this, answer my question now. She sent an email trying to get an answer, hasn't got an answer.
It's a matter of that. I think what's happened in the past is he's a little hesitant to work that way. But I would, it'd be great to have Dennis here to speak.
There was some emailed questions. You answered part of them for him because he wouldn't. And the answer was, he'll do it on phone. That's my point. If he's, like Connie said, why can't he answer an email? That's a simple question. From one of the office officials. If I were to email him, would he answer me?
I would, I
The
don't know.
answer's Kathy.
I can't speak for
I
Dennis.
know you can't speak for him.
Here's
I
what I'd like
think-
to
I think
suggest,
there's more
so
to
we
it
don't
than
spend a lot of time on it. And I don't mean it's not important, like I said, it is important to be conscious with this. I will contact Dennis, if the board would agree with this. And I will suggest to Dennis, we believe it, Connie sends him an email, we would expect him to give a response. There you go.
No, that's
You can
fine. I thought you were done.
No,
Okay.
that's good. If Dennis says, I don't want to do that, then I think we have a different issue. But if Dennis says, I'll be glad to do that, then I think we should move ahead and wait till we see what we're gonna do in the next meeting.
And I kind of have no issue with that, but I know I talked pretty much at length that if there's no communication going on that's creating these issues, then I'm sorry, but he needs to be replaced. Doug?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm gonna reiterate what I said last month too. To Gordy there, and I know he told me he doesn't really give a rip what I say, but as it goes, I don't care. I told him, you better plan on this here problem happening over and over again, because it isn't gonna change. I don't know why he doesn't want to answer Connie's emails. And I can understand that everybody was pointing fingers and saying it's whose problem this was or why we lost this money. And Connie got the most looks at it. And if he doesn't want to answer the emails, I've got a problem with that myself, just as a trustee. The guy should answer the emails. Because if he doesn't want to answer the emails, we'll do it over the phone. Well, I said this, you said that. Nobody knows what is said.
Right.
There's only two people that know, and that's the two people that are on the phone. Nothing's, and I think when you said that, you made your motion last month too. We said too, that if you come up with another account or person, hey,
You know,
let's interview.
how'd that go?
And
I think the reason that Dennis isn't answering the last email is because it was irrelevant to a question pertaining to work being processed in the office, and it was more of a personal email. So I don't, I think it's great that Jay wants to contact Dennis and speak to him about, going forward and seeing how,
And
I
you know,
can't answer.
Kathy, you know what, if he would have responded to the effect of, Connie, that's a private matter that's not involved in the township, then we could have discussed that topic. But to not answer, I think is a big issue.
He hasn't answered since October, anything, a single email or anything from me. So it isn't just this one question, it's been, I finally had to say, I did find out why. Kathy and I did interview a person that Dennis and Gartland recommended. She's a CPA, she's from Acme Township, we talked to her today. And she's reluctant because she knows what's going on. But she gave us some pretty good suggestions, and one of her suggestions was what she would like to do is maybe sit down and put together some procedures, because in talking to both of us, she realized that maybe one of the problems is that there's some gray areas. Where does one person's job end and the other one begin? So she offered to do that for us, to sit down and work through starting with cash receipts, working through kind of a process and procedure plan. She said a couple of things can happen then. It can kind of solidify some of the gray areas, but it also gives us a chance to work with her without committing to that, so that we can see if she's a $45 an hour CPA, and she comes from Dennis and Gartland. She's worked at the county for 5 years, and so she's real, I was.
What she knew about, does she know fund balance?
She doesn't know fund balance, but she certainly knows governmental and fund accounting. So, and we've got free support for the accounting program. We can get on the phone and get somebody to help there. So, we kind of left it at Kathy and I were going to just discuss and see what.
I think we made most of the last meeting. I still think we need to give Dennis a chance on the email. If Dennis tells me no, I can't do that.
So he already did. He's already said
No,
no.
he
He
hasn't.
already told me no. Does he have to say no twice?
I'm making a suggestion.
Well,
We've had this problem for so long. I think there's a lot more behind it than everybody wants to talk about. I think we're all tired of it in a lot of ways. And I think we ought to do that, come back if we're interviewing and make a decision. We agreed to do that the last meeting.
And I agree to that, but I also made it clear that everyone is working together. And to me, not responding to emails is beyond not working together. It's refusing to work together.
Can I, on this, when we originally put in the budget this $10,000, the initial was to coordinate the clerk and treasurer, because that needed to get done. You know, we had a new treasurer, a new clerk, needed things getting coordinated so that everybody was on the same page. So, I mean, my thought process is, to some extent, we should be weaning out at him, honestly, because that's why you guys were elected. Those are your jobs, in my opinion, but I understand everybody needed help. And by all means, that's, me as a trustee is one of the most important things, is the finance side of it. So we want to make sure that's correct, which is why I believe Dennis was hired. And so I feel like you two have to agree on whoever is helping you guys, because it's your offices. So I feel like Paul and Doug and I are sitting here saying, yeah, we just want you to get it together somehow. I don't know how, I don't know. And we're getting brought into it without maybe the whole story. We know bits and pieces of what's happening, but don't know the whole thing. I think Jay is trying to come up with a resolution. I don't know the new person. I don't know what we're paying Dennis. How much are we paying Dennis?
$30 an hour.
$30. And so it would be a budget difference there. If we were to hire somebody new now. And I think when I looked on the budget, when I looked at the bookkeeper, we were already at 6,100, and that was at the end of December. And if we're looking at 12 months, that's at $10,000. We're at $3,900 or $3,800 left to finish out the rest of the year. And if that's December, I mean, I'm going to think we're pretty close to being out of that 10,000 here in about 3 months.
And the end of the year is the bigger chunk.
Yeah.
That's all close, you know, that's the accruals and all of the things you have to do to close
Which you
out.
would have done in January, not in December, so we
Well, no,
would have
yeah, that we'll have to do in June.
Oh, you mean that ended, I'm
Physical.
thinking
Physical.
W-2s.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all that stuff, okay, no, okay, sorry, yeah.
So we need to save a big chunk for then, so.
Yeah, so I wasn't at the last board meeting, so I don't know, I read the minutes, you don't get a lot from all those minutes. So I don't know how we get out dead center, so I guess Kathy,
I'll make a motion.
okay, because I'm like,
My motion is that, as I suggested before, I'll call Dennis, and if Dennis says I don't refuse to do that, I don't need to.
To do what? Just so I'm
To
clear.
respond emails, whether it's Kathy, you, Connie, I don't
No,
know. But I, if
now
you,
Dennis is in the office at certain times,
Yes,
once a month.
I'm not talking to respond in 15 minutes. I mean, it's reasonable. Within a couple working days, that's reasonable.
let me go, that's fine. That we will contact, and my motion would be if Dennis says to me, and he can say it to me and anybody in email, if we want to see it, so I'm fine too. That he will or he won't, whichever way the answer is. And I think, as I've heard the board said, that probably we need to move on. Because Dennis works in other townships and he's not had a problem, one, everything's worked well, so I don't know what the issue, but that's not, the issue here is email. If Dennis is willing to respond, I think we still look at, I think you said there was somebody to talk to today, that's looked at, and we evaluate, as we said in the next meeting, are we gonna continue with whoever, or look for somebody new? That was why we looked at somebody, and we do that. So that would be my motion. I know it's a lot of words for a simple motion, but do I have a second to that?
Well, if he'll answer the emails, and that's what we're,
To me, he already said he wouldn't, you have to say it
It's-
again. I mean, he gets a
Well,
second chance to say what he's already said.
he'll say, if he says it again, that he's already.
Then he's made his decision. Now he's clearly put on notice.
He's put on the, right there.
He's put on notice. You
He's
need
put on notice.
to respond via email in a reasonable time, a couple working days at most. And,
I'd say it could be done.
and if
by the
he's
end of this
concerned
week.
that it's a private issue, then to explain why he's concerned with that, and we can discuss that. I'm fine with that, but he does need to respond by email. I mean, so
I'd say,
Moved and seconded. Any other questions on it?
Connie, if he comes back and says he's willing to communicate by email, can you work with Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's do a roll call on this, please.
Scott,
yes.
White,
yes.
Zolinger,
Yes.
Colette,
Yes.
Dye,
No.
Jenema,
Yes.
motion carries.
I will make that call tomorrow and communicate to the board the response. Thank you. Nothing else I have is old business. At this time, it's time for public comment again from the board.
It's been 3 months that I've been seeing this crap going on here. We didn't vote some people in for this, or others be appointed. I think you either draw the line or get rid of them, or whatever you gotta do, but do it now. I didn't come 2 other meetings because of this here bickering. I see it in the paper. I think we're making fools out of ourselves. We should get it taken care of, period.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've bitten my tongue on this, sorry?
Brian?
Brian Kelly, yes.
Yes, make sure I do.
I've bitten my tongue on this for a long time, and I'm very discouraged to hear tonight that this is still going on. The thought that our accountant has not communicated via email since October is completely unacceptable. I've worked as a consultant many years in the corporate world, and I had read the previous emails from what had transpired before, and that was all pretty unsavory, and I'm also very shocked that this is still going on. So I think time to move on here with this.
Appreciate your comments.
But I do have quite a few other things here I wanted to touch on tonight. One of them is the master plan. And I've read through the master plan, and of course I've read through the community survey. And one of the things I've seen in the community survey and the master plan is, in many cases, the master plan cites the community survey. But I believe it does so very inconsistently. That there's a certain agenda in the master plan, an objective, accomplishing certain goals, and often it will cite the community survey when the survey results support that narrative or agenda. But when the survey results oppose those items, what I find is the survey results are ignored, and they're sort of glossed over. They're not included in the master plan. And I think that if you're going to oppose the community survey and what that survey says, the master plan needs to justify that. And in some cases, it does make sense. Maybe, you know, hey, maybe we need to do water, or maybe we need to do sewer. Those are 2 examples. The public was pretty opposed to expanding those programs. Higher density housing was another one. I think that we're talking about going from 3 to 18 units per acre. And the community survey was pretty strong on that people do not want higher density housing in Acme. So if we're going from 3 to 18, that's a huge increase in density. And if we make a decision to do that, that's one thing. But I think we need to acknowledge in the master plan document why we are ignoring the will of the citizens of Acme as reflected in the survey. You know, but then you go to another point in the master plan, and you will see where the citizens support a particular item, it will reference the survey. It will say, you know, this many people supported this. And I don't think you can cherry pick that, in a document like that. I think that master plan needs to be a fairly objective, or at least how it cites the survey, it needs to be balanced and objective. You can't pick the good parts and ignore. Another one is the new Acme Town Hall, the new fire station, and District Branch Library. Those are all in the master plan. And those were all among the most opposed items in the survey. And I don't necessarily oppose those things, and my comment here isn't about opposing those individual things. It's about what I think was a misapplication of the survey. And that really kind of bothered me there. Now, another thing about this, I certainly wish I could have brought this up sooner. And my other issue here is one of document access. And I tried to review the master plan back in November, October, December, and I struggled with getting complete versions of this document. The versions that were released to the general public were missing half the pages. And these were the most important key pages that were undergoing revision. And at the Planning Commission meeting in January, our planner said that we generally are making a practice of not releasing these pages until they are finalized. And if that's really our policy, I think we need to rethink that a little bit, because at this point, for me to come in and critique the plan, it's a little bit too late to criticize this plan. But yet, if you're not going to release it to me on the web, or with only half the pages, how am I supposed to provide input on the plan? I should not have to FOIA this document in order to get earlier access to it. It really shouldn't be necessary. I realize I can do that. I do know we've had many special meetings with business groups and agricultural groups to review the plan. And that's great, but obviously, I don't like to come to these meetings if I can avoid it. I'd rather download the document and read it. And if I am going to spend that time to read that document, I want to be reading the latest version, and I want it to be complete. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of my time. So, and related to this a little bit is the park plan that was approved in December makes 2 references to splash pads still in that document. I think we approved a splash pad. It's in there, 2 pages. I downloaded the version this morning, and it mentions the splash pad twice. And that's another argument for getting these documents out in there, even if they're drafts, to the public, and maybe people will notice these things, because these are very large documents, 80 pages, and it takes a lot of time to go through them. And I think there are things in these plans that we maybe don't even know are in there.
Well, let me comment a little bit to that.
Sure.
The master plan is a document produced required by the state every 5 years, either updated completely or looked at. The Planning Commission has been going through that and working on that for probably 6 to 8 months.
I would say actively working on it for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
The survey was last spring,
Yeah.
so
So,
10 months.
10 months. And they talk about it, a lot of meetings, a lot of things. That is the place that people should come if they can, those meetings. We've had all kinds of inputs and forms. That's the procedure used most of the places. We have hesitated, I do not disagree with you, on putting drafts on them. And the reason we do so often is then people say, they start jumping to a draft before it's finalized, which you're in the middle of editing. So it's very hard to put drafts on for that reason. But we have had all kinds of sessions, all kinds of things done with those plans, both Parks and Recs was done through them. I'm not sure we ever hit everybody's need, but we have had a lot of opportunity for people to communicate, to talk about it, to look at it. We will continue to try to make it better, and do better. I think, my understanding originally, and you might be right, but when we first looked at was it the Parks plan, I think, had 2 documents on the Acme Future or Acme, one of the websites. If you didn't go to both documents, you didn't have it because of the size of the document. And we had some questions on that.
I think the cost data was added very, very late in the process with the park plan. For example, is a case of something that was omitted that was a really key piece of information.
So the plan, everything we do that way is not perfect. We will strive to make it better. I think we should always try. But I do know the Planning Commission put a lot of their heart and soul in a lot of meetings and work on this plan. And it is their document. And please come to any of their meetings if you can. I know we can't always. We are open to input and we'll try to listen to things and improve. We appreciate your comments.
I was at the last meeting, and our planner did comment that the general policy was to not release complete forms of the document until it was finalized. And I think that sort of thwarts our participation for most of the 4,300 people in Acme who can't possibly have time to sit through these meetings and focus groups, and most of us don't care.
Can I just comment really quick, because this concerns my commission? The the document's now gonna be posted for a 63-day review period. You can read a page and a half a day if you want to. We didn't receive an entire draft of that document until about six weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago. So the partial document that was uploaded, that was a piece of what was done. A bulk of the drafting of the actual document was not done until about, I think, 6 weeks to 2 months. I'd have to look in my records as to when I received the first complete draft of that. It is posted online now. It'll be there for the 63-day review period, and then public comment is welcome at our public hearing, which will occur once that review period is over, and you're welcome to bring your comments then.
And I have asked, just a second, well, I have actually asked our consultant, we're gonna get rid of the Acme Shores, Acme Future websites, and bring all those data that's there into our website, so we have total editing and control of, not, when I say editing, ability to put it on the site and manage it. Because if I would ask Connie, can you give me a copy of this? We wouldn't have it on our website. We don't have it. So we're gonna do that so we don't have, not one, expensive, but the more important was that we can have it more readily accessible.
Right, and that's great, I think it should all be on one website, and
And our new website gives us that capability. And our old website, I wouldn't say it didn't, but it was very, very cumbersome to do that with the old website. It was maxed out to the nth degree and had a lot of error in it, so.
on the old website, I understand the structure of things like agenda packets and things, how cumbersome that was to do. Are we preserving that? Are those gonna be available if somebody wants to go back to November and pull up a packet from then that had a public letter and be able to get that?
I don't think everything is, the minutes of the meetings are preserved, agendas, they're all on an archive button.
Some of those documents were only available as part of the packet.
And that's right, and it will probably always be that way because of the amount of documents there is.
Right. That we should
That's
really.
standard in most townships, right? That's not just us.
Sure, well, we should try and archive that old site and see what we can do to keep that around.
On that one though, I think we can maybe answer that one, because I think when we talked about doing the new website, there were portions that website will go away. From my understanding, that website is gonna be gone, because it was a big point of discussion. Paul brought this up during the whole process. And we got a portion of those archives being kept. So there are gonna be some, but I'm gonna, those
Well,
board
anything that was
packets.
in our other archives has been kept. What
Right,
hasn't been kept is, let's say I put a document on the table to talk about a server attached to a minutes of meeting. That document is not on our website.
Right.
That's
Which is
what
what you were
he's
asking.
asking for.
and I'm trying to make it clear, it's not gonna be there. So I don't know, I guess I didn't get that from the
So
conversation.
we're
I wanna
gonna
make sure
have
we were
things
answering.
like meeting minutes from 2012,
Yes.
We're
2011.
going
That
back
will
like
be
to
there.
2000, I think it's 2005 I looked at today.
Wonderful. I did see one before I came to the meeting tonight, that the meeting minutes from like the trustee meeting of January, that's not up there yet.
That's because we just approved it tonight. And we
Okay.
hadn't in the past had a habit of putting them on the site
Oh,
in
I
draft
see.
mode. We're
which is
thinking
good.
about maybe doing that,
Yeah.
but,
I mean, I like to, when I can't make a meeting, I like to read the minutes as soon as I can afterwards, even if it's a draft. That's, nice ability.
but that's been our policy. So. But thank you for your comments, we
Thank you.
appreciate it. Ann?
Yeah, I'm gonna make comments on two subjects. One, I've been here since 1970, and I've seen lots of boards come and go, and lots of meetings, up to here. Okay, I've never seen the chaos and the silliness that this bunch has got. I really don't think all the problem is in this room. There is some more problem, you better do some soul searching and seek it out. And get this straight in the next 30 days. Because it just is wearing on people. I see this person upset, and a couple more people that aren't here tonight. Sorry I wasn't here last month. I was out of town, sort of. Okay, my other subject is election board. I went to your website today. Nice website. Okay, you are advertising for election workers. I find this might be ridiculous when you got 2 qualified election workers signed up to work and you won't hire them. I got told by Mrs. Assistant Clerk, when I confronted her why, I insulted somebody, so she didn't think I was a qualified person anymore. Believe me, the only person I can think of I insulted was probably her when she said that to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ann, for your comments. Anything else from the public? Anything else, comments on that?
The only comment I have is I was asked to help with the SAD district and maybe working on helping get that kind of up and going. So I said that I would help to the best that I can and see if we can get that moving forward for the people up in Holiday. They seem pretty, actually, I'm quite surprised at how many
With you
people-
volunteering for that,
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
would recommend that you check with other townships that have dealt with them and you try to get their help. That's,
We had,
Yeah.
there's a lot
I mean,
going
that's
on
good.
now.
Oh, it's a lot, and honestly, you know, I've dealt with them personally, just because of my work.
yeah.
I got a couple
But not
spots
for
before.
roads, more for weed control and lakes is where we've dealt with them. Honestly, Rachel, and some of the and some of the people up there, I mean, they have taken a pretty strong lead on that, because honestly, you don't, I mean, in my opinion, as a board, I don't want to come in and place a special assessment if these people up there don't want it, because it's a lot of money, and I've actually seen it in other communities where it has taxed people out of their property, and it's not right. So it's like, if this is not something they're wanting, you know, by a preponderance.
They are actually planning a mailing to get that kind of input.
Yeah, I
Like we
mean,
requested.
yeah, and so there are, you know, and actually, when I was talking to Gordy a little bit about it, was some discussion on thinking that it probably wouldn't go very far because of, you know, what it is. I mean, those roads are, they are horrendous. And honestly, we now have a road millage, which I know it's not doing secondary roads, I know some of that stuff, but it's also, you know, good and bad. Everybody has differences of opinions on that, is, you know, it'd be about $400 or $500 annually on your tax bill, extra. You know, that's a big chunk of money for people. And so, and it'll be 10 to 15 years. And so, I mean, you know, that's where it's like, I want these people to know up front before things are moved on this, that they're in favor of it.
Well, like Amy said, there's a very good citizen committee,
There is.
John Jessup, Kurt, I never remember Kurt's last name, Rachel Rowe, and they've been working a lot at it, because they're the ones that have to want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their assessment. It's not ours.
You will get a lot of support until they hear that.
But that's what they need to hear,
Yeah.
because that's every time when somebody calls
then
you up
you
and
may
they're
still get
crying
some,
because
but I'm
they
not
can't
sure
pay their
it's gonna be-
taxes, and it's a special assessment, you're getting
You
foreclosed
know,
on.
there's two ways we can do it too, Paul. One is if they get a, I think we talked about the last meeting, so I don't want to.
Yeah, no, we don't, yeah, but.
There's a lot of work going on, and we're glad to have Amy part of that help, because it helps.
Volunteering.
And we also have a lot of public meetings with those people and announced, we had one, Nancy, was it 2 weeks ago? It was one of those cold nights, I remember that, snowy. We had about 15 or 20 people in here, and there was not a negative person in that meeting. So that's a good sign. Doesn't mean it'll go, it just means it's a good sign for that meeting. Okay.
I have one more thing, sorry. Wasn't here last month, so I gotta get it all in.
Ah.
This is actually more off on what Brian had brought up, is just because of some of my background, I feel for what's going on, yet I understand Carly's situation, where, how do you do it? Because now we have a master plan document, and you come in and you've got some valid points, and when I go through all of it, we're gonna cross-reference and check and see what that comes through. Now to ask the planning commission to go back through and say, okay, change this, then we have to start from scratch again. It's gotta go back for a 60-day review, it's gotta go back for a public, so it's not that we've done anything wrong, it's the process, unfortunately, because if you do put a draft out there that's not complete, people will start, well, okay, this is getting taken out, this is taken out, we've already discussed it at the planning commission, it's already been removed. I don't know how you do a balance. And I don't know if you have any ideas on that, on how a balance comes through, because, I mean, yours may be very structured, but we also could be bombarded, and the planning commission would maybe have very similar
Well,
points.
and
It'd be-
even me, it's so hard to have full context and everything, because I've never read the previous version of the Acme master plan. And to really comment on the current plan, I need to know the previous
Right.
era of the document, and I really don't have that context, and it's very hard to spend the time to do that. But the thing that really got me going on this is I was reading meeting minutes, and one of the planning commission commissioners, I believe, had made a comment about, with a specific reference to a page number, and I think I saw that in the minutes, and I went and looked for that page number, and that's what really set me off, that, you know, I don't have this page that, you know, they had at the meeting, and they were reviewing it, and
Yeah.
By the way, Brian, the old master plan
Yes.
is under the archive minutes, it's under 2009, because that's when it was done, it was put on there today, finally found a good copy.
wonderful.
It's important that those are the things that we, as a board, ask to keep a lot of data that other places don't keep. That was one of the critical things that we talked about, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
Paul smiled because he was pushing it. We found a way, and that's important, and but it is on there.
And Amy, if we make edits, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but after the review period, we're still allowed to make edits. It's, as long as they're more of like a minor nature, right?
Oh, yeah,
Without
yeah.
resending it out for that review
Okay.
period. So it's still a working document. We're
Okay.
just starting, that's why I
Yeah.
said you have 63 days to look at this.
Sure.
Then we have a public hearing. If the public hearing goes on all night, we can have another one. I mean, right? It's out there now.
But it would be minor changes, is that correct? If you took a whole section out?
Well, you're not gonna take a whole section out, because all those sections are required. You might modify what's
What's it?
in the section or the direction that
Sure.
that section goes. I mean, it's a pretty significant amendment to require the process to start again.
Okay. Well, then that's good.
But it's
that's encouraging.
anticipated that, you know, when we're talking about a final document, it means a document that's prepared for distribution, because you don't
Expect
You don't
No, and I
distribute it
understand.
until you have something in a whole to distribute and to have a public hearing on.
Well, and the
And I don't
planning
think it was drafted, I think I
Right.
understood that, you know, for the most part, it was being drafted as it was, you know, as a piece got drafted, it would get kind
I
of stuck up there. so.
remember experiencing a master plan update we sent out. And honestly, I think we got maybe one answer from the county and nothing from our adjacent townships. And adjacent would be north to us, adjacent in Antrim County, Whitewater and East Bay, I think are the three. Isn't that right, Jeff? Just those adjacent plus county planning, I believe.
I think
Doesn't mean
send
we
it out
won't,
to
by the way.
other governmental agencies though, too. I don't have the distribution list, but it goes to a lot more places.
But we just, so we'll see how, this is a major rewrite.
Right.
Last time was just a minor rewrite. This is a major change, so.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, you know, useful for a lot of people who don't want to wait, who would never read an 80-page document like this, if there was a 1 or 2 page bullet summary of, you know, here are the hot button things that are coming in here that you may not be aware of, the big changes that are coming in the plan that we're going to do here.
Well, we
That's not,
appreciate your input for that. And please, if you can, the planning commission meets
Next
week.
Monday.
I made it the last meeting, Carly did a great job running the meeting, and
Good.
it was a good meeting.
She usually does. She keeps them on.
Volunteering.
Okay, hearing nothing else from anybody, motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all tonight. Thank you all for coming.